Welcome to Awana's podcast. This is our second episode. I'm here again, joined by our CEO Calvin Sedao. How you doing, Calvin, today?
I'm doing well. Today's been beautiful.
Another beautiful day in LatAm. Yeah,
Always
for
a
sure.
beautiful day in the middle of the world.
Yeah. We're in Ecuador, and again, just trying to talk to you a little bit about LatAm and what the benefits of hiring in LatAm are for startups in the U.S. We're really excited because, well, we have some cool news. LatAm's tech market has been regulating ever since the pandemic. And as you know, there were a lot of... Let's get a little bit of context here. Let's talk about when this started, how it crashed down, and of course I'm talking about major layoffs we saw last year, and how right now it's churning and it's going back to the beginning. So it's like a big opportunity for startups trying to find tech talent. So yeah, Calvin, tell us a little bit about where we are right now.
Yeah, Alex, it's really important to understand kind of like the history of that, what's been happening. So pandemic hit 2020, immediate shock in the market. So you actually had a lot of layoffs happening right away due to fear. Then a couple major things happened. One of them, COVID caused everybody to shut in. So they couldn't go outside. So the e-commerce boom. Because of shut-ins, what else happened? The metaverse. People thought the metaverse was going to take off. So at least two of these trends caused massive hirings. The amount of companies that were being developed around these two major concepts exploded. So that created more and more developer jobs that were necessary. So you went from a fairly casual increase to then all of a sudden explosion.
Yeah,
from
I remember that.
Yeah, from like 2020 to 2021. If you were a company that needed a developer, in the beginning it was like, okay, I'm going to be really specific about what I need, and then it just was, let me just get anybody that knows how to say hello world.
Yeah.
And that caused this huge spike in salaries.
Yeah, people fly way too close to the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, and once people got the news that they could hire remotely or whatever, they started growing at a not very healthy pace, I would say. Way too much hiring, way too much talent, which is cool, but the ball fell eventually, right?
The ball, the ceiling, everything just dropped. Companies that were building around these two sectors, once people could go back outside, because they were trying to create, and the internet is great. You can have this international community. You can meet online, and it's fantastic. But people still have this need for human interaction to feel. And the metaverse couldn't create that, well, at least not yet. Yeah. And so once people, there's always going to be a need for remote work. Companies are going to be there. But now you're seeing, which is probably going to lead to the later discussion, is what happened after the peak. Because at the peak, you had all these jobs created. And everybody was hiring remotely. I think on LinkedIn, if you look back a year or two ago, 20-30% of the jobs posted online were remote. Now it's 10%, maybe.
Yeah. And by the way, we're not talking about only small startups. Google, this
Everyone.
Huge corporations just went on and hired everybody. That's one of the reasons actually why also developer salaries went really high. Because lots of these corporations just stole talent from smaller companies, just offering outrageous salaries and stuff. And of course, it looked like a proficient way to get things moving while you couldn't. But like we said, it's maybe the lack of planning or the lack of, because once we went really up and things started to go down, a lot of people started freaking out about how they're going to maintain this now that the world is regulating, right?
Yeah.
So slowing down, and that's why there were tons of layoffs last year. It sucked.
Yeah, 2022 happened. And a few things that caused these layoffs to occur, right? People realized the metaverse wasn't there yet. I'm going to bring that back because, and we'll post the article in the show notes, but the metaverse just didn't get adopted as much as people were hoping it to be. As much as Meta wanted it, I think this article quoted like 40 active daily users. You can't run a company on 40 active daily, just like B2C type of user. That's unless they're paying $10,000 a month, which they weren't. So, and all the companies that surrounded that, they just weren't sustainable. So because of one of those reasons caused a huge, massive amount of layoffs from just people not adopting metaverse. Secondary, you had worries of the economy. In the U.S., the recession loom is existing. The interest rates are increasing. So people are worried about that. A lot of investors are advising, be careful with how you spend your money. And in fact, that you would think if people are going to be more careful, they would look outside of the U.S. But with all the layoffs happening, companies laying off left and right, and the supply supply of tech-related people just increased, and you have a high. Again, we'll post this again in the notes, but you had like a high of 500,000 available jobs. Now it's less than half that.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. You gotta look at it as an ocean, right? When the pandemic and the whole remote work thing was like people were surfing big waves, but when the recession hit, no waves. People were like left ashore on the sea. But now things are regulating, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what's it looking like for companies that still need to hire people, but
I think what you're seeing is
this traumatic experience, I guess.
I think you're seeing a bottoming out. Yeah. You can see this curve of layoffs because there's still a lot of layoffs happening, but it's not to the same extreme. You're seeing kind of like it plateauing out. You're seeing that when you look at this curve, it goes, okay, boom, and now it's slowing down with the amount of layoffs, and that is a good sign.
Yeah.
And
an opportunity also.
Yeah, and the opportunity that we're probably going to start seeing more of, similar to the metaverse, but very different, is the rise of AI and AI companies. And with all these companies being created from that, they're going to start hiring. They're going to need to hire people.
Developers, specifically.
Developers, everything tech related. You're going to have high tech positions, low tech positions. You're going to see more companies around the no and low code solutions, and they're all going to need to start hiring again.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not at the capability of where AI is going to work those jobs. So with all these new companies springing up, you're going to, I imagine that hiring is going to pick up.
Yeah, and it's not only that, like it's like a good time to hire. It's a good time to hire, to be smart about hiring, because that's what we learned about all this whole story, right? You gotta be smart about it. Like you can't like get overly excited and just start like growing your company like at incredible pace, like that you're not gonna be able to support right now. But now things are regulating. It's time to take a sit and kind of like think about what you need and who you need to hire to do whatever it is you want to do your products. Like Calvin was saying, like AI is really big right now. So where are you going to find the people that are going to help you build or implement AI into your business? And the answer is developers, right? Like we need this type of engineers. We need this type of people that are going to be behind you. And again, like the market in the US, unstable as it is, like there's going to be a lot of competition to try to find talent, right? So that's when we say like, oh, come on, like you gotta scoop over here LatAm, man. Like there's tons of people here that are super talented. And like we mentioned on our last podcast, like Latin America is full of tech talent. Like there's tons of startups, there's tons of people working with AI here. So what we're trying to say is when we're saying that you got to be smart about hiring is that you got to look further than other people and try to find the opportunity that's going to work for you, that is not going to like make you lose months of trying to find the right candidate, right? And also like rates, right? Like rates had just regulated, had just like been lowered. So it's an opportunity to be smart again about hiring. So be smart. Like you gotta go for it, but go for it in a planned way and trying to find that opportunity that's gonna fit your company.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that are going to pop up after this is really the planning of hiring and just planning of generally everything. But even when another boom happens, because we go through these cycles, it's really important that if you're a startup out there and you want to plan your next hiring stage, your next anything, really think of like, okay, what, as bad as it's like, what is the ROI? How many users is this going to affect? What amount of research are you putting into, okay, I need to develop this new feature? Have you tested the market? Have you asked the market what this is going to do? And yeah, it can be easier said than done. But if you do that, it's going to really help focus who you hire and how you're going to hire next. For sure. Yeah. And with the rates that Alex was talking about earlier, it's really important to note that, yeah, while the rates are decreasing, it's mostly a supply and demand thing.
Oh, yeah.
So when people were coming to us early 2020, right before the explosion happened, they were getting really good developers at reasonable rates. And then people then came to us 2021, early 2022, and you couldn't expect that anymore. Now you're getting back to those rates, and you know what? You don't know when that next increase is going to happen. I'm not saying do it out of fear. Of course, make your plans and everything, but
be smart about it.
Yeah, definitely be smart, but also look at your needs. And if you have the budget for it, if you have your 12, 18, 24 month budget for it, definitely start thinking about now or in the next 3 months in your hiring process.
Yeah, for sure. We want to give a little bit of a shout out to our compensation report. If you want to see how some of the salaries have changed in LatAm specifically, we're going to put it in the description so you can download it for free. It's just a good way of saying like getting ready for this, right? Like getting ready to this change, getting ready to this opportunity. Sure, the supply and demand thing, there's like, because of all the layoffs, there's a lot of candidates that are available, but be smart about where you're trying to hire and the reasons why you're trying to hire. We got to learn from our mistakes, people. Like we can't go crazy and just grow and just like say, oh, I need AI. You need to find a way to get candidates but support them in the long term, right? Like once you build whatever it is you want to build, you want to get the team that is going to not only build it but protect it and maintain it, you know? So basically, yeah, that's what we wanted to talk to you about today. This has been our second episode.
Yes.
We're going to leave you 5 links that we think you should read that are going to probably go more in depth with this conversation but we're having. But we wanted to really, again, reach out to you, tell you a little bit about the opportunities that are on the horizon for you as a startup. So, yeah. Any last words, my friend? Yeah, go ahead. You tell them.
Salary drops have happened. Because of that, it doesn't mean to take advantage of this in terms of taking advantage of the people. Take advantage of this as a company, but look at through the lens of you have an opportunity right now. There's a lot of people on the market that would love to work at a startup, that would love the opportunity to show how they can be a functional member to your team. But it's not in the way of taking advantage of them as a human being. So as you go through these stages, be really clear about what you plan on hiring for and for how much. It's not about tricking someone to working for you. It's about working with them to work with you. So I really want to stress that. I don't want to see companies coming down and just like taking advantage of the network down here, or taking advantage of what can happen. Just be humans, and that will pay more dividends than the couple dollars that you'll save in the short run.
A strong team. It's a strong company, guys. So yeah, for sure. So make sure to follow us if you like this type of content we're making. Always glad to talk to any startup that is curious about how they can grow their teams, especially like hiring in LatAm. So yeah, the opportunity is there. You just need to seize it. So it's been a pleasure again.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time.
Take it easy.
See ya.